To our meeting, we'll begin with the flag salute. Please rise.
Because it's always there. Everything.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is to advise those present at this meeting of the Board of Education of the Pinelands Regional School District in the County of Ocean that adequate notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act. The notice has been posted in the Board of Education office, junior high school and high school buildings. The notice was also sent to the Press of Atlantic City, Asbury Park Press, and filed with the municipal clerks of Bass River Township, Eagleswood Township, Little Egg Harbor Township, and the Borough of Tuckerton. May I have a roll call?
Miss Betty?
Here.
Mr. Bonnicky?
Here.
Miss Johnson? Here. Miss Crystal Martin? Here. Miss Patty Martin? Here. Mrs. McVeigh? Here. Mr. Vox?
Here.
Mr. Dalio?
Here.
Mr. Hewitt?
Here.
Okay, you're in session.
May I have a motion to approve the following minutes? December 16th, 2024, regular meeting, executive session, and the reorganization meeting minutes of January 7th, 2025. Motion, Mr. Bonnicky, second, Ms. McVeigh.
Roll call. Miss Betty?
Yes.
Mr. Bonnicky?
Yes.
Miss Johnson?
I just had a question why we don't list Dr. Frasca as being in attendance in an executive when she normally is.
I think this is a roll call for the minutes. Can we get through that first and then we
That's
could-
my question, why don't we list her as being in attendance as present?
She's not a board member.
Yeah, but neither is McCooley, she's just here. But
She's a member,
present,
but she's a member of the board.
but non-voting, but Dr. Frasca sits in on every executive, so it should be
Okay.
noted correctly, should it not? Mr. Donio?
Well, I leave to the board secretary the minutes. I don't think there's an issue with including if Dr. Frasca is present, so if you're okay with the
That's fine.
amendment, we'll just add that to the minutes.
Thank
Sure.
you.
So back to the approval of the minutes. Miss Johnson?
Yes.
Miss Crystal Martin?
Yes.
Miss Patty Martin?
Yes?
Mrs. McVeigh?
Yes.
Mr. Vox?
Abstain.
Mr. Dalio?
Yes.
And Mr. Hewitt?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Yes. All right, we'll move on to the report of the superintendent.
Students before me.
Oh, sorry about that. Students are first.
Yep.
All right. So we will hear from our high school representative, Max Ramos. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. January has been an exciting month and action-packed at Pinelands Regional High School. Our winter sports teams are right in the middle of their seasons and performing incredibly well. 5 of our wrestlers have earned spots in the Shore Conference Tournament following their impressive victories at Raritan, Monmouth, and Neptune, as well as Matawan. The winter track team has competed at the Ocean County Championships, the Merrily Invitational, and the Ridgewood Armory Meet, where they've consistently delivered strong performances across the board. Boys bowling celebrated their 3rd consecutive victory at Barnegat, while girls bowling continues to show strong results throughout their season. Varsity cheer competed at Jackson Liberty on January 26th and is doing wonderfully in their season. The girls basketball team has defeated Academy Charter, Lacey, and Manchester, while the boys basketball team has triumphed over Academy Charter, Pilgrim Academy, Brick, Toms River East, and more. In addition to athletic accomplishments, the Wildcat Shack has hosted a successful thrift shop in the high school commons, offering quality clothing at affordable prices. Our yearbook club hosted their annual senior takeover fundraiser, allowing seniors to step into their favorite teachers' classrooms at the beginning of February. The National Honor Society recently held its induction ceremony for new members, and the class of 2026 is hosting a fundraiser at Chick-fil-A to help raise money for their prom. Our student crew had a stellar showing at the NJ Thespian Festival, bringing home multiple superior medals for cable roll, musical theater solos, and etc. They have also competed at the 2025 Stange competition, where they have earned several trophies for dramatic monologue, pantomime solo, improvisational pairs, and more. As we wrap up the month and the second marking period, students are preparing for midterms next week. January has been an eventful and successful month for our school. Thank you.
Max. That was great.
Thank you. All right, let's hear from our junior high school representative, Jacob Wilczek.
Good evening, guys. Happy New Year. I'd like to start off by congratulating you, Mr. Hewitt, and you, Mr. Daly, on your elections to President and Vice President, and to Mr. Vox on his recent election into the board. In addition, I'd like to thank Mrs. Zimmerman for her years of service to the Board of Education. The junior high school will miss her. Although the month of January has been a quiet time at the junior high school with Martin Luther King Jr. Day and a snow day, it's still been going really fast. The Student Government Association held their monthly meeting on January 21st, and we've decided to start a fundraiser in support of the wildfires occurring in the state of California. There will be a Spirit Day on Wednesday, January 29th, in which students and staff will wear blue and gold, which are the state colors of California. There will be donation jars in the cafeteria during lunch periods from January 27th to January 31st. Students are encouraged to donate their spare change or any amount of money during their lunch period every day. If they make a donation, they will get to put a ribbon with their name on it on the cafeteria wall. The goal for each grade level is to raise at least $150. If 8th grade reaches their goal, Mrs. Molesky will be slimed. And if 7th grade reaches their goal, Mr. Wolf will get slimed. We'd like to thank Mrs. Molesky and Mr. Wolf in advance for their participation in this fundraiser. On January 15th, junior high school students were invited to attend our ROAR event. It was a wonderful event in our afternoon on that day, and we were very surprised and glad that 68 students were given a positive write-up in order to attend. Congratulations to those students, obviously. Pride Club is planning a busy couple of months. This month, club members made encouragement cards and posters for the victims of the California wildfires. For their next service project in February, they will be making some Valentine's ornaments for the residents of the local nursing home and assisted living center. Future plans include holding a donation drive for several animal rescues within the area. Finally, on January 22nd, Mr. Leo Ullman and Mr. Irvin Moreno Rodriguez, the director of Stockton University Sarah and Sam Schofer Holocaust Resource Center, came to the junior high school to give a presentation regarding the Holocaust. Mr. Ullman shared his story as a hidden child in Amsterdam during World War II, and he shared his story of immigration to America and his post-war life. Mr. Ullman served in the U.S. Marine Corps Reserves before attending Harvard and Columbia University, graduating with degrees in both law and business. He's been the chairman for the Anne Frank Center, the Foundation for the Jewish Historical Museum, and the Netherlands National Holocaust Museum, and he's also been on the development committee of the United States National Holocaust Memorial Museum. It was truly an honor to be able to meet him. Overall, the last few months at the junior high school have been going by very quickly, and we've had a couple events to keep the month going by. We're studying for midterms right now. It's a big thing this week. It's very a big thank you from the Student Government Association to all of our staff, faculty, and administration who help keep the junior high school running. Big thank you goes out to you guys. Thank you very much. Have a great night, and better get ready for those midterms.
Thank you, Jacob. All right, it's time for the superintendent's report. Dr. McCooley?
Thank you. The first thing I have for discussion is the upcoming calendar for the next school year. So I have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning with the superintendents of the surrounding school districts, and we're going to discuss our calendars and try to be a little cohesive with that because of busing. It helps out if we're all on the same page. So I will have more information after that meeting. Dr. Frasca did survey the staff after our last meeting, and some of the feedback we got from them is they prefer the shorter winter break, so over the holiday, December into January, that being a little shorter and keeping the November break. And then she also asked if anyone had a trip planned already over November, and at the time of the survey, 45 staff members already had something planned for the break. So it's just something that we need to consider when we plan for next year. For this year's school calendar, you'll see that adjusted on the agenda this evening because we have a snow day. So we have to add that to the end of the school year. And we already talked about project graduation with Mr. Henderson and his team. We're going to move that a day ahead and We already spoke with the venue, so we're good to go there as well, so that's not going to be a problem. The other thing we had to add to the agenda, to the calendar, are early dismissal days in March, because our transportation department let us know that with Little Lake having them for parent-teacher conferences, it's very challenging for us to get our buses back on time, and they'd be running extremely late at the end of the day. So what we did was, I had Mr. Talarico reach out to Little Lake to see if they could get done at 12 instead of 1, and that might have helped, but we didn't hear back. So we need to change those days for half-days here at Pinelands, so we don't run into that issue. So that adjustment's been made, and I'll talk about that tomorrow with the surrounding districts to see what they're planning for next year, so we can work that out. Linkit is currently being done, as we heard from Jacob. They're taking midterms, and I'm going to be presenting some Linkit data next month to the board to see the progress that our students are making, particularly in math and language arts. Delayed openings, we already spoke about that. Oh, excuse me, this is really more for the community. Delayed openings, I know there's been some concern. We did not have a delayed opening the day after our snow day, and some districts did because of the weather and the conditions. It's challenging for us to have delayed openings with the tiered busing and with VOTEC. So if we don't have to have them, I try not to. So just something to consider when, someone is wondering why we didn't have that delayed opening. We got a letter from James Garcia, the regional director for the junior ROTC program. Our students attend that at Southern. We have that partnership with Mr. Henry, and we're so appreciative of that. Our students are doing great, and the program itself was scored, and it scored 100, which exceeds standards. So they're really doing well in the program, and we're happy to have that opportunity for them. If you have not gotten back to me yet and you want to meet every other week via Zoom or on the phone, you're welcome to do that. If you don't feel it necessary, that's fine as well, and I'm there if you have any questions or concerns. Lastly, there were some questions about the agenda. I just want to go over quickly. Ms. Johnson submitted questions. Thank you for that. The first one was, how are chaperones picked for theater trips, specifically Mr. Francia and Mr. Miller, instead of Mr. Miller? And there was some information on that. Basically, the chaperones are picked in correlation with the supervisor of that department, and that one particular is Mr. Molesky, and then the person running the trip. So they get together and decide who are the most appropriate chaperones for that trip. The next one was about the lease on the agenda for the bus. We are going to lease a bus between now and the end of the school year, because now we have more drivers that we have available, and it actually saves us money in the long run, and there's more availability for our sports runs. Last year we ran into some situations where we just didn't have busing for them, and the parents had to carpool and things. So this is going to help with that situation and ultimately save us some money for this school year. The next question was about two particular courses from FDU, from one of our staff members taking them, and if they're being taught by myself or Ms. Frasca. We don't typically ask who's teaching a course when we approve them. So there's other courses on there from Stockton, Drexel, Rutgers, and we don't ask who's teaching a course when a staff member takes the course. And then the bills list has now been updated. And then there was a question about the police officer being here, and we do that just for added safety at our board meetings. And those were the questions that were asked. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to presentations. We have a presentation from Ms. Leek and the gate information.
Hello. I believe most of you know me just because I've had your children in class or grandchildren in class. I wanted to come tonight to clarify two things. One, the difference between GATE class and the GATE Enrichment Club, because I know that there's some kind of gray area there and not everybody understands. And then I also want to talk about some enrichment stuff that I have planned. Okay, so the GATE class students apply, they submit a portfolio. It's a cohort that travels together throughout the school day. And in the past, what we've done for trips is we've made them all curricular. So we had a science trip, a social studies trip, and those are things that we've done in the past. The GATE Enrichment Club, which has only been around for about a year and a half, is optional. Okay, so students who are in GATE might not necessarily choose to be in the after-school GATE Enrichment Club. Okay, so the Gate Enrichment Club is after school, and then in order to attend activities and stuff that I have planned, I tell the students way ahead of time that if you think you might want to do one of the activities, make sure you show up at least at a couple of the meetings. So for this year, which I'm sure you saw on the agenda, I have done some planning. There is, hopefully, if it gets approved tonight, the high school trip to see Jersey Boys. That will be on March 21st. That is a Friday night. We'll leave after school, get back. Okay, so that should not interfere with any activities. I made sure it was well after Mean Girls, the play, is over. And then in April, I have planned to take the junior high students to see the play Come From Away. That'll be on April 17th. It's the Thursday night before spring break. And I jokingly said to the kids, I can't do a weeknight because I'm getting old and I get tired. So that's why I planned them for those days. Some of the other things, I have Pinelands alumni coming in to do an origami demonstration after school one day. I also would like to do an alumni panel. I've reached out. I couldn't believe the turnout that I got, how many responses for students who've been in the GATE program to come back after school one day and do kind of a panel. Explain to the current students where they're at, what they're doing, and why the GATE program helped them get there. So I'm planning that probably for the end of May, because then a lot of the students who are in college will be back for the summer then. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. And we have a presentation by Ms. Green.
Hi, everybody. We have had the Seal of Biliteracy at Pinelands for some time, but it hasn't really kind of gotten off the ground. This year, we tested 4 students who have demonstrated mastery in both English and, in this case, Spanish. All 4 of them were Spanish speakers. And they are 4 seniors. They're going to graduate this year, and I just wanted to recognize them. I have their test certificates and their scores here, and I thought that they deserved to be recognized. As you can see, the Seal of Biliteracy is established to recognize high school graduates who have attained a high level of proficiency in speaking, reading, and writing. We often talk about kids being bilingual, but that doesn't always mean biliterate. So these are students who can read and write and communicate orally in another language. And really, English is the other language. So that's wonderful. I have 2 students who are not here this evening, Tommy Amen Valdivieso and Darnay Gutierrez. But with us are Maria Iuceda Hernandez, and Diana Perez.
Mrs. Green, could you take a picture with them?
Yes, we can. Here, you want to?
No, you go ahead. Yeah, I'll get out of the way.
So typically, this test is given to 11th graders, so we are open right now for any students who are interested. We will do another round of testing in May, probably after the AP exams, but we're hoping to build this up. We have a lot of kids at our school who are certainly capable of this achievement, and we'd like to do that for them. So thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Green, and congratulations to the students who worked so hard to receive this recognition. At this point, we're going to move into our work session, and as we move into our work session, I would like to just remind the board that, you know, we work together and we are to observe the rules of decorum, and as we communicate with each other, it's okay to disagree with each other and have differing opinions, but it is not okay for us to personally attack each other and make derogatory remarks. So I just want to remind everybody of that as we move into that section. And also, Max, you are welcome to participate as the student representative during board forum. You are welcome to ask questions on agenda items, so I would encourage you to speak up as well.
Item 5B under presentations.
Oh, I'm sorry. I took my glasses off, Mr. Bonnicky, and I didn't see that.
Nervous, I get it. I get it. You're doing great.
Thanks. Yes, part of the agenda tonight, each of the board members received certificates recognizing participation as part of the Board of Education. And we also received these beautifully crafted pen and phone holders, which were done by the high school wood shop. So thank you very much for that recognition. We appreciate that. And a swag, and a swag bag. Thank you, Mr. Bonnicky, for keeping me on my toes. All right, so we move into the work session, board forum.
So if I may,
Sure.
just to make the board aware that an ethics complaint was filed against.
Is your mic on, Mr. Bonnicky? Just make
No,
sure.
it's not, I'll try to talk up.
Well, can we have Mr.
Can I have
Bonnicky's
another
mic
microphone?
working? Yeah, Mr. Vox is working.
Here we go. All right, thank you. So just, I'll go back to the beginning. An SEC ethics charge was filed against me today. I believe, yeah, it was today. With 3 points. One being compliant with mandatory board training, not meeting those requirements. Another point was missing 3 years of service to have to retake certain parts of the mandated training. And then there was a third piece, about my transcripts not being updated and missing training for 2023. So I replied back to the SEC just to make you aware. I'm sure that they will find this a frivolous charge. By the way, the complaint was filed by Stephanie Johnson against me. My transcripts are updated. What was not on the transcript was my 2023 completion on March 24th. There was a request for documents, and that date was not on that transcript. It is now updated. The claim to the 3 years of missed service I resigned in 19, so that's 14 years of straight service. In 21, I filled a vacated seat, lost election in 22, and then won election in 23. So there's no consecutive 3 years of missing service. And then if the claimant had just simply asked a question to avoid another frivolous charge and expenses potentially incurred again to our district, the School Ethics Act was revised and adopted in 2008, where in question my first term that began in 2005. Governance 1 is a mandated training. Governance 2 and 3 was not mandated until 2008. So in 6 and 7, no board member in any district needed to complete governance 2 and 3. So I'm sure that will be dismissed by the SEC, but again, another frivolous complaint that only not deters our business as a board, breaks down community trust. I'm not going to go on any further, but I would like to move and make a motion that this board no longer indemnifies Stephanie Johnson in any of our cases that, I guess, would hold a charge. How do I word that, Mr. Doniel? Because we incurred, the board, the district incurs charges, and they add up. And as a board member, you're indemnified, you're covered. The numerous charges, past and future, I would anticipate, if we make a motion to no longer indemnify Stephanie Johnson, to save this district unnecessary expenses.
So, for those, good evening, everyone. If I can have a chance to say good evening to you. Identification of a Board of Education member is under state statute for certain actions taken in the capacity as a board member. That statutory provision has been the subject of several different lawsuits. No one's hearing me? So, I'm not sure if everyone heard me, but as I said, identification of a board member is generally governed by New Jersey statute under Title 18A, which has certain provisions regarding when a board member acts in their capacity as a board member. And the idea is to make sure that people don't get personally bankrupted for the public decisions that they're making. And it's a very strong policy. As far as wording of a motion, I mean, that would be at the board's pleasure to direct, a motion to direct the business office to cease indemnifying Ms. Johnson. Candidly, I don't know if that won't just incur more litigation as well as we fight over that indemnification provision. So while I totally understand the idea to have the public become aware as to the significant financial burden that is created when board members file ethics charges or have to be defended for ethics charges based on their behavior. As far as a motion, that would be at the pleasure of the board, I guess, under new business, whether you make a motion in a second and it passes. I won't comment in public as to what I think will be the viability of that, because like I anticipate, if history has taught us nothing, I anticipate that we'll have litigation over that litigation.
Then I should retract my
probably.
motion. Then I will retract that motion at this point.
And I will continue to work with the board and the board leadership with regards to addressing, I think it's not lost on anybody, some of the very significant challenges posed by some of the interactions that have occurred and are continuing to occur.
Yeah, and I guess if it's just a simple question, hey, we're looking at your transcripts for whatever reason you dug into that area, it could have been easily solved without going through a frivolous and false complaint, again, where you harm the community's trust and you defame my 17-plus years as a board member to this community. So that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bonnicky. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Sure.
We're on the agenda. For the schedule for next year, are you guys trying to implement built-in snow days? Because I believe, I may be wrong. In past years, there was a few, just so that we didn't have to didn't have to reach out to the venues for project graduation in general. Just a few of the things at the end of the year for seniors and other classes. Are we trying to do that again? We're looking to do it?
So that's a good question. We did do that years past, and as I said, we try to follow suit with the other school districts as well. It was difficult having the built-in snow days because of the flexibility of graduation and project graduation. We now have a place that does allow us to be flexible and we can change the dates, but it is something that we're going to discuss tomorrow morning when I meet with the other superintendents.
Okay.
We don't usually have snow either. This has been a tough year, but yeah, that's a great question, and I will bring that up and report back to you next month.
I did notice something on the calendar that was in the attachment. First week in November, that's board's convention.
Yes.
I think I remember seeing that it was color-coded for vacation type days. If you look at the color
For
code,
vacation days.
it was marked down. I believe that was the color I checked down. If you could check that.
Okay.
I'll check it again, but it
Yeah.
looked like it coincided with vacation time. And we know that's convention week.
Okay, yeah, I could look at that too, but that's, and it's also
Unless
usually,
I'm getting colorblind, I don't know.
it's usually the election that week too, like, there's voting, so we try to kind
Yeah.
of tie that whole week together.
Okay,
and
it was five
we
straight
don't have
days.
staff here, it's gonna be difficult to run school regardless, so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll look into that.
Anyone else under the area of board forum? Okay. New business. All right. Old business?
Wait, I was getting my thing
Oh, I'm
ready.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I forgot my reader, so I might have to borrow yours. So I'm big on requesting documents through Oprah because I don't get them as a board member. So I requested the invoices for Cooper Levinson, which is our board solicitor, and I did send that out. I got that from Miss Amanda Miller, which is our BA, which is great. Thank you for that. I did send it out to the board members just for you to look over. I think our costs are, I know I'll be blamed for it, but a lot of them are constant emails going back and forth. It makes me wonder if Ms. McCauley can even run this district without Mr. Donio, or what.
Okay,
but I
can we
would-
keep it to facts? Like, when you say something like that, you're making a personal allegation against
Okay,
someone.
well.
Let's just
like,
keep it.
It's daily with the emails and the correspondence. So I would just ask the board members to look that over, look at some of the issues. Each invoice it's for, and we might have to look into, I think, getting new board counsel. As I stated several times, Mr. Donio is conflicted. He obviously is not for the benefit of the board, and he works specifically, I feel like, for certain admin. So I think this is really telling that we spend almost 8 to 9, sometimes 11,000 a month on their legal services. So I would just ask that you look that over, see about the opinions. Some things I can't state, but I would just ask that you look that over. A second concern is I would like to have a meeting where we discuss some issues that arose from Ms. Frasca's actions and Ms. McCooley's actions. So I would like to present to the board that we have a meeting and to discuss certain issues that might be in violation of FERPA and contract violations.
Did you say contract violation?
Correct. So I don't know if I need to motion for that or if the president can look into that.
So as far as having a meeting, a special meeting of the Board of Education can be called upon the recommendation of the board president, or if I recall correctly, under 6A 32, I can't remember the exact section, but upon a written application by a majority of the board members to the board secretary.
Okay.
Secondarily, with regards to the discussion of staff, and I'm not going to discuss any individual staff, the Board of Education cannot discuss any staff member besides the superintendent without the recommendation of the superintendent. You can't issue a rice notice to anybody besides the superintendent, and you can't have discussion regarding staff members unless that recommendation has been made by the superintendent. As I think we've discussed in numerous ethics trainings, the idea is that the board does not run the school, it ensures that it's well run. I think you've probably heard me use the adage, you hire one person, that person hires everyone else. As far as my legal fees, just very briefly, while I have the opportunity, I can
No,
be
you weren't asked.
well, I can be relatively confident. I mean, you took a shot at me, and I'm going to defend myself, which is Listen, I appreciate that a dollar spent with me is not a dollar spent in the classroom, and that's why I try and have as few dollars spent with me as possible. And I've been doing this for over 30 years with decades-long relationships with numerous clients throughout southern New Jersey, actually going into all areas of the state. And I'm very confident that my clients understand that I try and do the most cost-effective thing possible and try and minimize litigation by minimizing disruption, by getting out in front of things, and by enjoying the reputation that I enjoy as an education law practitioner throughout this state. As far as, you know, I do not get any pleasure out of the fact that the administration is often tasked to deal with so many issues that I believe are not only legally unnecessary, but personally unnecessary. But they are tasked with those obligations. They seek my guidance, not only superintendents and assistant superintendents or board members who seek my guidance. That's pretty much what I do all day long, 6-7 days a week, at any time during the day. And I agree, maybe there's one thing we agree with. I'm really saddened that I have to do that. I'm very saddened that I have to constantly assist in dealing with disruptive and otherwise what is often can be unnecessary behavior and actions.
Okay.
And have to defend the board as an
And
entity.
your long-winded answers is costing us money.
Okay.
So, so the whole thing with the possible violation of FERPA, how do we go about getting that investigated? Because I know you told Mr. Bonnicky last year that as president, he signs the check. So technically, we're responsible for all employees of the school. So I'm kind of confused.
I don't ever remember telling Mr. Bonnicky
Well, you
about
could
signing
look
the
at
checks.
the executive orders. I mean, we record all of them.
Okay, but again, I'd rather not incur the cost for the Board of Education
Yeah.
to retrace all that, to,
Okay.
talk about something that I'm
So how do
highly
we
confident
get
didn't
this
happen.
investigated about a possible FERPA violation?
Well, normally you would ask your administration to take determination as to whether there was a FERPA violation, but just so you know, FERPA in and of itself does not provide a private cause of action under Doe versus Gonzaga. And if you have a concern, as I'm sure has been repeatedly discussed in both trainings, you should send that concern to the chief school administrator with a copy to the board president, and then the two of them can work on a plan and a path forward that makes sense. If it makes sense to do an investigation, makes sense to hire an independent investigator, or if it makes sense to say no set of facts would actually result in this being a violation, to take no action. I don't know. I don't know what you're alleging. I truly don't understand the basis for the allegation, but nonetheless, my advice, as is typical, is go to the chief school administrator, copy the board president, and go from there.
Okay.
Do you have any more questions?
Not for new business.
Okay. Anybody else for new business? I'm sorry, that was old business that we were under. So then we will move on to residents forum, agenda items only. Board policy number 0167 encourages community participation in every meeting. However, the board requests that the public respect a 3-minute time limit when commenting on agenda items.
Rick Miller up, the Sandpaper. I noticed that you're making a change in the policy this evening, policy 5516, regarding the use of electronic devices in the school. That includes cell phones. I remember about 2 years ago, there was discussion about how parents, students, administrators, teachers, staff, everybody was going to be asked what they would like to see. And I never heard anything happen. But during that time, you were absolutely, totally ignoring your own policy. The policy as it stands now before the change says that, and it was more concerned about people videotaping each other than it was disrupting classes and everything. But it said at that time that they were not allowed in the school buildings at all. Not only during classes, but in intramural stuff afterwards. And that old policy, as far as I know, was never enforced. And now the new policy seems to be less rigorous. And this is at a time when the governor is pushing for the elimination of cell phones in schools, at least in the classes. Maybe the legislature will pass that. Maybe it will be a ruling from the Department of Education. But if you, before you pass that thing tonight, if you could explain what your current policy is, I'd really appreciate it, and I think a lot of other people would. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Miller. The revision of the policy actually just takes out the words recording and a few other words, so it's not a completely new policy.
I mean, what cell phones still allowed in the classroom?
Why don't you go ahead and answer, Dr. McCooley?
So they're not allowed in the classrooms, and it's up to the administration whether they let them in between classes or not, but they are not allowed in the classrooms. Yes.
In WIN, they are. In the WIN period, which is study hall and junior high, the kids can use their cell phones. And as far as I know, every class they're allowed to hold their cell phones except for GATE, where GATE, they could put it in a holder. So I don't know. Maybe Max can clarify because I have conflicting information.
So just in regards to the high school, we are growing adults, growing
Yeah.
into them. So many teachers will offer us the responsibility and just allow us to hold on to our phones, not have them out. They will either be in our bags, pockets, shut off. They're not allowed to be out on or whatever. That also kind of goes into a case of emergency. If they're put away and we can't get to them because we are focusing on something else, it's at least in my personal opinion, it's just a limit, especially with contact and communication. So no, they are not allowed in the classroom. I can't speak with study hall because I don't have that. But it's just so it's not allowed in the classroom. They're away because we are adults. We have certain responsibilities that we also allowed to have. If it is an issue, teachers do exercise the right to to remove the phone or ask it for it to be removed. They will write students up. It is enforced, especially in more rigorous classes like AP honors, where it's could be a bigger issue for focusing. So, my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, guys. Appreciate that. Anyone else for Residents Forum?
Christina McPartland, 304 Farrow Avenue. It's my understanding that a student who was bullied wrote an anonymous letter to the board, and that was after that student had brought this to the attention of teachers, guidance counselors, principals, and the superintendent. That student felt that they were not being heard and was brave enough to write a letter to you. That letter, I'm sorry, was brave enough to write that letter to you. And it was read by a resident to, again, not identify the student because they were worried about the repercussions. That resident stood up in front of you and read a very vulnerable and brave letter, but was cut off a few sentences shy because they had made it past the 3-minute rule. I can only assume it was cut off due to the fact that some of the bullies that that student was referring to were in fact those of the teachers and board members. That resident's 11-year-old daughter had then had to finish the letter. It's also my understanding that after the letter was read, the school had then contacted who they thought was the parent of the anonymous student, asking them to confirm the identity of that student, which then would deem them not anonymous. I can only assume that that parent refused. Unfortunately, that brave student had to go on homebound afterwards due to harassment by other students and the spread of misinformation. That student has since returned to the school, but continues to deal with the aftermath, not only by the fellow students and the school, but by you, the board. Because as of last night, that anonymous student's letter has been on your website posted for a total of 370 days. I looked over your minutes over the last year, and I didn't see a single one that had a letter attached to it regarding what was said at any meeting besides a few notes. What other reason would you have to post it besides to intimidate not only that student, but any other student that would come forward with their fears or concerns? So my question really that I have for the board is, what exactly is your definition of harassment, intimidation, and bullying?
Thank you, Mrs. McPartlin, for sharing. Is there anyone else for Residents Forum?
Are we going to answer? Are you going to
Well,
email her
so-
an answer?
Thank you for the reminder. Yes, so the Residents Forum part, we're not really a Q&A time.
Mhm.
So we can certainly look into that, and I can. Right.
And it does kind
Thank
of
you.
contain information
And I
that's
will-
personally identifying
I will look
students.
into that and. Right, okay. Thank you. We're not going to continue going back and forth, but I will look into that and I will have an answer for you. Thank you. All right, anybody else for Residents Forum? All right, item 8, instructional. Recommend the motion to approve instructional items A through F. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions?
I have a question about the 8th grade field trip. Is that during the day or is that after hours?
The 8th grade field trip.
The 8th grade field trip is during the day.
Okay. So we're okay with 26 substitutes to take them during the day, but all the other field trips have to be done.
The entire grade is going, the entire 8th grade is going together, just like the entire 7th grade went on the Pinelands experience.
All right, I know that was just a voice of contention at the one meeting you were talking about field trips, that it was an inconvenience for subs to take, you know, a gate class. So, okay, that's all I had, thank you.
Any other questions on these items? Okay, roll call.
Ms. Betty?
Yes.
Mr. Bonnicky?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Crystal Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Patty Martin?
Yes.
Ms. McVeigh?
Yes.
Mr. Vox?
Yes.
Mr. Dalio?
Yes.
Mr. Hewitt?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We'll move on to item number 9, personnel. We recommend a motion to approve personnel items A through P. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, any questions?
I have a question about the Miss Danielle Nutt. Does she have her special education certification?
Which number are you asking? Which letter? I'm sorry.
I think it was D.
New appointment. A temporary leave replacement.
I don't have any of the staff member certifications in front of me, but if she's in the position, she's qualified to be.
Well, you approved her for that, correct? Because this is your recommendation by the superintendent that we approve her for this teacher, correct?
Yep, I just gave you my answer.
Okay, so you don't know if she's properly certified?
I don't have everyone's certifications in front of me, but if she's on the agenda, she's qualified to be in there.
Okay, it just seems like you should know that. Okay.
Any other questions on items A through P, excuse me?
Roll call.
All right, roll call.
Miss Betty?
Yes.
Mr. Bonnicky?
Yes.
Miss Johnson?
Yes.
Miss Crystal Martin?
Yes.
Miss Patty Martin?
Yes.
Miss McVeigh?
Yes.
Mr. Vox?
Yes.
Mr. Dalio?
Yes.
Mr. Hewitt?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, moving on to item number 10, HIB. Recommend the motion to approve the following HIB item A. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Any questions? questions? Roll call?
Miss Betty?
Yes.
Mr. Bonnicky?
Yes.
Miss Johnson?
No.
Miss Crystal Martin?
Abstain?
Miss Patty Martin? Miss McVeigh?
Yes.
Mr. Vox? Mr. Dalio?
Yes.
Mr. Hewitt?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 11, policies and procedures. Recommend the motion to approve the following policies and procedures, item A through B. I have a motion.
So move.
Second.
Any questions? All right, no questions. We'll go to a roll call vote.
Miss Betty?
Yes.
Mr. Bonnicky?
Yes.
Miss Johnson?
Yes, no to A4.
Miss Crystal Martin?
Yes.
Miss Patty Martin? Miss McVeigh?
Yes.
Mr. Vox? Mr. Dalio?
Yes.
Mr. Hewitt?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 12, recommend a motion to approve the following operations items A through D. I have a motion.
Motion.
Second?
Any questions on items A through D? Being no questions, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Miss Betty?
Yes.
Mr. Bonnicky?
Yes.
Miss Johnson?
Yes, except for C, no.
So you voted no to the school calendar.
Is that a question?
Miss Crystal Martin?
Yes.
Miss Patty Martin?
Yes.
Miss McVeigh?
Yes.
Mr. Vox?
Yes.
Dalio?
Yes.
Mr. Hewitt?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 13, report of Board Secretary, Business Administrator. Recommend motion to approve the report of the Board Secretary, Business Administrator, items A through O. I have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions?
I had a question about the bills list that I submitted, but I didn't get an answer. There's a reimbursement for Miss McCooley for $30-some for travel, and I just wanted to verify what that was for.
So you are conflicted in terms of my employment.
I'm
so
not
that's why
voting
you
on it.
didn't
I
get an
just
answer to
need
that,
to
and there
know.
were 46 reimbursements on there. You're targeting $30.
Well, I want to see if it was for you driving up to a pro se hearing, because I don't feel taxpayers should pay for that.
Dalio,
But I'm not voting, I'm just questioning.
Okay, I mean, don't have an answer, you don't have an answer.
that I can find out what the $30, was it county? Denver Roundtable.
Thank you. That was so difficult.
Any other questions?
All right, Miss Betty?
Yes.
Mr. Bonnicky?
Yes.
Miss Johnson? Miss Crystal Martin?
Yes.
Miss Patty Martin?
Yes.
Miss McVeigh?
Yes.
Fox? Mr. Dalio?
Yes.
Mr. Hewitt?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 14, informational items. They're there for your review, attendance, discipline reports, and security drill. Do we ask for questions about those, or?
No, just
Okay.
if there's questions, they can always email me.
All right, item 15, residence forum, general topics. Board policy number 0167 encourages community participation in every meeting. However, the board requests that the public respect a 3-minute time limit when commenting on any topic.
Rick Miller up to Sandpaper again. I was out of state, so I couldn't attend, so I watched the copy of the tape of the reorg meeting. And it was like a 22-minute meeting, and every 4 or 5 minutes, ads popped up from YouTube. And some of them were disgusting. One was for a penile enlargement system. One was for something called eye crack. And you know it's bad when they start off with, this is what doctors won't tell you. But with this ice crack system, you could go from almost totally blind to 20/20 vision. And just watch this tape below. I'm telling you. K-Tel back in the 60s and 70s used to dominate late night TV with ads. At least their Ginzu knives were good. I mean, this is crap that they're advertising. And I wonder why, all of a sudden, it started this year, because they never ran ads before. Is there a way, what's the difference in price? Do you have to pay for it? If you do have to pay for it, that's one thing, but is there an ad-free version, and what's the difference in price?
So,
Because it was absolutely, some of the ads were so blatantly BS, it was incredible. Thank you.
to answer your question, Mr. Mellerup, there is nothing on our end that we can do, but you can pay for a subscription on YouTube that will give you ad-free experience. Okay?
You might want to warn people not to click off of those ads as quickly as possible, because sooner or later, somebody's going to get sucked into one of those stupid products, and they're going to get ripped off.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Anyone else in the residence forum? All right. Seeing that we have no one else in the residence forum, we'll move on to item 16, board forum. I'm going to allow Crystal Martin, who's joining us remotely, to have the opportunity to go first.
Thank you, Mr. President. But I have nothing for tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And we will move on to our student representative, Max.
I don't have anything as well. I'm all good.
Got to study for the midterms, right?
I do. I do have plans to go somewhere to study tonight.
All right. All right, Ms. Patty Martin.
Thank Get a chance at the board meeting. Thank you, Mr. Service Board President. And also, thank you for, I wasn't at that time, but you are. Thank you again for board member time. Record honor. I hope in I really keep staff for all the information. When I time to go through everything. Ask questions. Thank you. Led to maple syrup. I believe it was the day at Stockton, afternoon at Stockton. Unfortunately, so congratulations to all involved with that. Also to the thespians, the unsung heroes, the bus driver.
All right, thank you. Ms. McVeigh.
I'd also like to integrity and I'm very
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McVeigh. Ms. Betty?
Nothing except to say that it's about to be a bunch of 5-day weeks. So, good luck on the midterms, to everybody involved. Yeah.
No, don't say that word.
Yeah, I know, snow day, makeup.
Ms. Johnson?
I just wanted to say congratulations of the month, National Honor Society inductees, our sports teams, and the theater group. Good luck at midterms, and thank you, Mrs. Leek, for your presentation and for all that you do for the game.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Mr. Bonnicky?
Mr. President, well, just to echo just some of your words, to hope 2025 is something that this can work together and be more respectful of each other. Hard untruths and actions, but we'll move in the right direction.
Mr. Bonnicky. Mr. Vaux? Glad to have you. Mr. Dalio?
Thank you. I really don't have much. I do want to say one thing. Working with you, David, over the last year, I think you'll make a fine president. You have my 100% support. You do a good job. So congratulations on that. Mr. Donio, when did your company start working here? For the board, for Pinelands?
Dr. Blake was.
2017? 16?
No.
Longer than that.
Yeah, probably
15?
like 13 or 14.
That long? Well, Mr. Bonnie should know.
I'll just pull that right up, my archives, but yes.
You should remember those things, right? You're on the board.
Since 2010.
Was that long?
Now,
A couple.
Yeah, it was maybe what, like 2012 maybe? That's 2012?
Multiple different superintendents while you were here. Okay. Again, I'm just echo what Betty Ann said, appreciate your advice to the board. You're pretty much down the middle, so thank you for your service. That's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dalio. I just echo the sentiments of several board members. Congratulations to the students that were inducted into the National Honor Society. It's great to see what our drama students were able to do. Tri-M inductions took place also this month. Great to see all of these opportunities for the students. Our sports teams are underway, and it's just great to hear about how well they're doing. Thank you to our student representatives, Max and Jacob. We really appreciate your time in being here and just the interest and enthusiasm you put forth on behalf of your fellow students. Thank you, Mr. Bonnicky, for serving as president last year, and we appreciate you. Thank you. Congratulations to those who are re-elected to new terms on the board. We appreciate you serving. Great to have Mr. Vaux with us as his first time on the board. Echoing Miss Betty, it's January, February, March stretch of time, and spring break's a lot later this year, and so. But we really thank our teachers and administrators for the work that they do day in and day out in the classroom. It's oftentimes a job that's underappreciated, but we appreciate how much time and effort they put into it and the care that they put into looking after our kids. And the privilege for us to be able to serve part of the Board of Education, privilege to be able to serve our community and to serve the students. Hope that we will continue to make progress moving forward as we strive to act together on behalf of. Allowed to say go Eagles? I mean, you said it. I mean, I'll echo it, but you said it. So.
Go Birds.
All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. The meeting is closed.